Hello, Luke here. I would just like to take a moment to disclose upfront that we sometimes talk about sensitive topics in our podcasts, and in fairness to our audience, we will try our best to put specific warnings in the descriptions of each episode.
And Chuck here with a friendly reminder that the views of this podcast don't reflect the views and opinions of our lovely sponsors.
Now on with the show.
Mrs. Debbie, come and nobody go home. She set her sight on Uncle Fester. Debbie, come and nobody go home. Banish family via letter. Debbie, come and nobody go home. Send the children to Camp Chippewa. Debbie, come and nobody go home. Cleanse the campground in a fire. Debbie, come and nobody go home. Come, Mrs. Nanny Ma'am, watch over the pubert. Debbie, come and nobody go home. Try hard as you may, but the Addams you can no hurt. Debbie, come and nobody go home. It's a Banana Boat by Harry Belafonte. And I tried so hard not to do a fake patois. And I'm also going to try really hard not to do a fake patois throughout the entire episode. Welcome to the Nostalgia Killers podcast, where we revisit films from our youth to see if they still hold up or should be inserted into the great DVD player in the sky. I am unfortunately not Harry Belafonte. I am Chuck Starzenski, and I am joined once again, almost as always, by Javier Martinez.
I'm so excited to be here.
The wonderful Taylor Diffenderfer joining us yet again for another Addams Family reunion.
Oh, so happy to be here as well.
And it wouldn't be a macabre episode without the one, the only, Robert Negoesco.
McRob.
Macrabre.
Yes, thank you. I am an Addams.
So we watched Addams Family Values, and for a log line, I have a gold digger tries to divide the most loving family ever depicted on screen. And stay tuned after the show for our Sonic Death Monkey Top 5, brought to us by Goose and Fern, British pub here in Santa Rosa, California. Top 5 movie sequels that surpass the original. And it's about this time that we give our honorary Sam Coughlin spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this movie that came out in 1992, I don't know what to do with you. Robert, what does this movie mean to you?
Yeah, I guess both the movies just were in a constant rotation on videotape when I was a kid, being into horror. And I mean, honestly, this might have been what sparked an enjoyment of horror. I did live in a giant, spooky Victorian house, though, that was similar to the Addams house, so maybe it was inevitable. But yeah, I mean, I just watched them 8 million times. I don't know what else defined my comedy in a lot of ways, probably. Yeah, and very important movies.
This was a hugely influential movie to me growing up. For me and my brother, we watched it frequently, and I haven't stopped watching it since childhood. This is a movie I continue to rewatch pretty regularly.
Unlike most people at this table, this was not in constant rotation for me. I definitely saw it as a small child, but honestly, the first time that I can actually remember watching it was probably middle school or high school.
That's a child.
And in a way, yes. Technically, you are right.
But I guess you're saying that you were already mid-pubert when you had seen it.
Yeah.
I was waiting to see how long into the podcast it would take before that joke became a thing. So thank you for checking that off the list. Exactly.
Hey, you got to make the 5-minute mark. Man,
This was the first time I got that since I was a kid.
But yeah, no, I definitely meant I saw it sometime when I was 5 or 6, and then I didn't watch it again I didn't remember watching it again until sometime in high school, probably. But I do remember it being funny and enjoying it, but I probably haven't seen it in a couple of years.
I was about to say, but you rewatched it for the podcast, right?
Yes, I did do my homework, as we all did, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. Every single person cares about bringing authenticity and integrity to this podcast, and so everyone did every single bit of the questions and trivia that was asked of them. Right, Taylor?
Of course.
Perfect.
Yeah, I always do it.
Yeah.
I'd never not.
Well, anyways, I distinctly remember seeing the trailer for this when I was little and being super excited, but also having this weird sense of deja vu. As we talked about last season on the Addams Family episode, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to it, go back, listen to the Addams Family episode. It's amazing. growing up, the Addams Family and Addams Family values were just this beautifully merged pile, and it doesn't help that Uncle Fester is the central plot point to both films. You know, I'm going to go on a limb and say that values is better.
100% agree.
Though your confusion, the director said that the marketing demanded that it like looked like the marketing from the first one. He wanted to push the baby, Deb, like the new elements, the camp, but they pushed it as so similar. And he said that that's why it didn't perform as well as the first one.
Been there, done that kind of feeling.
But it makes sense why it would seem like one thing, especially with the marketing.
Well, since this is our favorite Addams Family movie, yeah. Robert, what are some of your favorite scenes?
I mean, you got to love a movie that 6 minutes in, they drop a newborn baby off a roof.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on. You're either in or you're out. If you're not into it, you're fucking out, right? They drop that baby off a roof and it happens. He gets caught. I mean, it's okay, but you know, I don't know. I mean, other scenes, there's like the iconic scene that we'll probably get into that I don't need to bring up right now.
When else would you bring it up?
I mean, just all the time when...
Okay, so let's wait then.
We'll just wait until we're mid-sentence and then Robert's going to be like, so that one iconic scene when Wednesday is dressed as, and then
Yeah, that scene.
Yeah.
That scene. I mean, it's the scene of the movie.
How about you, Taylor?
Oh yeah, there's so many. I mean, this whole movie, right? But I'm just let's talk about. Let's go towards the end of the film. And one of my favorite moments is, okay, well, let's just say every single moment that Joan Cusack is on the screen is my favorite moment of this fucking movie.
That's exactly what I wrote verbatim. I wrote every scene Joan Cusack is in is my favorite scene of the movie.
She's so incredible in this movie. And the Malibu Barbie, she wanted a ballerina Barbie, the whole family tied up, the slideshow, that scene is just so fucking stellar and so good.
That's so good. I love them all also like bending a sympathetic ear and like being like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Morticia's in tears. She's with
that's
her.
the interesting thing about Deborah is that if it wasn't for her like wanting to break up a family, pretty much everything she's doing, they're mostly on board with. Like
absolutely.
Killing people, like ruining lives, all that stuff. It's like they don't have that problem with her as like she could have been an Addams if she wasn't a true monster.
Well, if it weren't for the pastels,
yeah,
she could have been an Addams.
Yeah, that is true.
And Morticia calls it out.
Yeah. You see, I can forgive all of it, but pastels and then get out of here. Also, camp, just all of camp. And I'm Gary Granger and I'm Becky Martin Granger. Like they are fucking hysterical.
They're so fucking funny.
How about you, Javi?
So full disclosure, I didn't listen to your Addams Family episode. Don't know if you guys already gushed about this last time. Just the fact that Raul Julia and Angelica Houston have like the best chemistry in like ever in film history. Like that's just a fact. Regardless of whatever else you may think about this movie, like that's just fact. I think every time they're on screen together doing their thing, it's wonderful.
Yeah, full disclosure, I drunkenly watched this with my wife, and every other scene I was just like, they're so in love. And I would just look at her and go, and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Well, I mean, it's that, but it's also, it extends through the whole family.
Oh, yeah.
They're a good family. They spend a lot of time together. That actually goes to like the title. I found this online.
Maybe,
come on, Robert.
Maybe wait and get the first trivia question correct. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, you did.
I know.
Need to cut me off.
I need to cut you off. Yeah, that's literally, Spoiler alert for the trivia section. It was a little slim pickings when I was doing my research. I was like, okay. Nobody mentioned it, but the Morticia and Gomez dance sequence, so wonderful. Her literally setting the dance floor on fire with her spin moves and just like, there's like the way they captivate the entire room too, where it's like, oh no, this is it. It's like their love is so big that it takes up every inch of every space they enter.
In that cave restaurant?
Yeah.
Is it what is that thing? What's going on?
I don't know.
I always, even as a kid, I was like, what? Like, it's the one thing where I'm just like, I don't get it. I can't wrap my brain around. I'm like, where are they? Is that an Addams type restaurant? Like, is that in their world?
Yeah.
Or is that just like a fancy restaurant? I mean, it looks cool, but like, what's a cave restaurant? And are there cave restaurants? Please write in.
Yeah. Well, it almost seemed like one of those. I think we have one around here, like, but it's like a wine tasting like in a cave.
Like a wine cave
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing?
yeah. Like yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking. It's one of those.
Maybe.
They just happen to offer food too.
Yeah, they just like it because it's damp.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you find Addams men.
That is where you find Addams men. It's
It
fucking
has to be
great.
damp.
It has to be damp. That is such a fucking great line in the movie. Oh my god.
There's too many great lines.
Yeah.
I know this whole movie. I mean, there's not a bad moment. I feel.
Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of like scenes written down. It was more just like one-liners. Like,
Yeah.
this is funny. Oh, this is So it wasn't like I was trying to think of like what's like a full scene that I really enjoy. And I know we mentioned the big one or alluded to the big one. But outside of that scene, like it's mostly just one-liners that I'm like, oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny.
Isn't he a lady killer? Acquitted.
The bits.
So
Oh,
good.
God.
I'll be the victim all your life.
Yeah, that is one of the
Yeah.
greatest
It's like-
lines of all time.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Speaking of hands down, Thing skateboarding on a rollerblade like in the ultimate tech deck.
Oh, yeah, he's shredding the gnar.
Shredding the gnar, that entire
Yeah.
scene, I was literally just like, literally on my feet screaming at my television. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
get it, Thing!
Tony Hawk wishes.
Exactly.
The crushing between Wednesday and what's his name, Baby Woody Allen. Come on. I forgot. I didn't write down his name, but I forgot.
Joel. His name is Joel.
Oh man. I actually, as a child, had a crush on Joel for sure. I was a little Wednesday also crushing on the dorky kid at camp. But their whole like, I won't say romance, they're like children, but it's so cute. Like it's so funny. And like the scene where they're like talking to each other through the fence and he stays. So good. They both kiss each other and then wipe their mouths.
We'll always have camp. And Amanda's retainer.
Yeah, yeah.
He ripped it out of her head.
Yes, it's
I like
so
when
romantic.
he screams when he sees Michael Jackson.
Yes, I like that too.
Heal the world.
Terrifying.
Yeah, he actually had the line that made me laugh the hardest in the film. And that's when they're getting to, they're going to show them all the Disney movies. And he's like, stop it. He's only a child.
Yeah. And Pugsley's like really scared.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Also coming out of Disney brainwashing and just Wednesday's smile.
Oh, it's one of the most
Yes.
iconic moments in cinema. It is like so much layered acting going
yeah.
on
Yeah.
there.
She's scaring me.
Yeah. All the kids jump back.
Like just Christina Ricci's acting in this is tremendous. When she like is in the play and it starts and you're like, oh, her voice is so dramatically different. Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Pocahontas, a Chippewa maid. Like it's so different than the delivery that she's always giving.
Let's get
Can we
into
just
the
talk
play.
about the goddamn
I mean,
scene?
why are
Yeah.
we pussyfooting
Dancing
around
around
here?
it, been pussyfooting around. Let's just talk about the Thanksgiving play.
Yeah, dude.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it's
The most
great.
memorable scene in this fucking movie. I mean, especially if you watch it as a kid, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, Gary Granger's Thanksgiving play at his all white camp pretty much. And it's just pushing puritanical values. It's insane. I mean, it's some hard satire. Don't you want to help me realize my vision? And she's all, your work is puerile and under dramatized. You lack any sense of structure, character.
But the way that it escalates, it's like, it's not just the disruption of the play and making a statement. It's like, we're going to burn this fucking shit to the ground. Like, that's so good.
And I love that they give it a moment to actually be a play and you get to see how truly trite it is.
Yeah. Happy Turkey
when
Day.
he's like, eat me. And the reaction of the mom it's like what's her name's mom?
Amanda's mom.
Yes, Amanda's mom. She's like, oh. That part makes me laugh every fucking time.
Those awful parents. Yeah.
Also, the fact that this is from 1993, like that's in there, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's something you'd see more in, late 2010s. Or,
Being that
early
progressive,
20s.
taking Thanksgiving back in
Right.
93.
Making like a big pivotal scene.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, this
Kudos.
probably had a lot of effect on like, I guess, waking kids up to like what had at least some aspect of the truth. Obviously, we're not like, this is like such a small example. You're not learning the real history, but you're learning that the history that is a lie, is wrong, and it has this like revolutionary spirit in it. I mean, I think the Addams are kind of like that in general, but like it's the most impactful, like, and distilled and like direct, like this, like, yeah, the Addams are an attack on traditional American values, you know, or what is painted as traditional American values.
Exactly, like Rockwell values, basically.
Yeah, they are, you know, I mean, in a lot of ways, yeah, the anti-Rockwell.
Well, speaking of being anti, you guys got any nitpicks on this movie?
I actually really don't. I didn't write down any nitpicks for this movie personally, but along the same note, you know, I agree with everything that Robert just said. And it, like, even like as a kid, you know, learning about like Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims, like in school, it's all bullshit. And then, but I watched this movie and I was like, there's something else happening here, you know, like I watched this very young. Watching it as an adult and realizing how glaringly white this movie is and like the lack of diversity and trying to make this statement, it's like, okay, I appreciate it. But at the same time, y'all are not, you know, this, it's like a white savior kind of thing where I'm like, this, maybe you're not the perfect example.
No, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm trying to
That
say?
was my criticism with the movie, is that I think it is a good step towards like, and it's like kids mostly, right? I'm sure there's some adults who got their minds blown by that, but it's like, it's for kids to change their aspect. But it is like white people talking to white people in the, kind of this, about this issue, because it does lack Indigenous representation. There's no Indigenous kids. There are some kids of color, but it also puts like the recontextualization of history into the voice of a rich and privileged white girl.
Right.
It is Wednesday. We like her. We love her. And she is standing up for the right thing. But it's like, she is still like from a family of settlers. Like he's Spanish, you know, like, so in like the true modern context, I mean, is lacking in that, but like it's a huge step, especially for like 1993.
Right. That's where we were. Then.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
it was
No,
like,
no,
that
no,
was a big deal. Like, oh, we're
no.
gonna start
And I'm not
stepping
taking
up.
that away from it. Like that's my criticism, is that like there's, you know, a bunch of white kids being natives and going like doing the mouth thing. And, you know,
For my nitpick, aside from, you know, any kind of racial stereotyping or just like white savior guilt sort of like aspect that is in this film, my big one was like the fact that we go for another Deus Ex Machina kind of ending like the first one. We got a baby Rube Goldberg machine style calamity is what causes Debbie's demise, basically.
sure.
And it just feels kind of phoned in. I'm not complaining about it. Again, it's a nitpick. Like, I love that it's there because the movie is full camp and it's super slapstick the entire way through. It's just one of those things of like, it kind of has that feeling of like, we got here. How do we get out of it? The baby, obviously.
Well, yeah, he is the new Addams, right? And never proved himself.
Now
I mean, he has an
siblings can
arc.
respect him.
Yeah.
The fucking newborn baby has
Has
a
a-
fucking crazy arc in this movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know why I was not thinking about that. That is my favorite scene. Like as a child, I cried laughing. Like it made me feel smart or something. Like where it's like, he could be an orthodontist. Ah! And like Gomez is like crying like, or president. And he's like drops to his knees in this just like true tragedy. Like, why God, please take me. Like that shit. Love
So
it.
good.
So let me just start by saying, which is, I guess is technically a nitpick, but well, it's not really a nitpick. It's just my general feelings. I just don't think that this movie is that funny. There we go. I said it.
And this
guys.
is why we have you on
I
every
know.
time.
As soon as I
We're
heard,
sharing a mic right now, I feel sick. Like, get me away from this man.
Bang,
I'm kidding.
bang.
as soon as I remembered that Taylor was going to be on here today, after I finished watching the movie, I was like, oh shit.
The feud ever grows, I guess. The older I get, the funnier this movie is to me. So that's interesting. That's interesting. You know what? It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice that we have opposing views. It makes for a good podcast,
Also,
right,
this is
everybody?
so serendipitous. So we had, full disclosure, we had some audio issues before we started recording, and these two are sharing a microphone.
And if this is a Thanksgiving movie, what's more Thanksgiving than disagreeing with people you care about?
Exactly.
They'll be doing a lot of that this Thanksgiving.
And I was getting sweaty and nervous, and I was like, uh-oh.
Would you like to elaborate on that statement?
Not really. I think maybe just like, I mean, Chuck kind of called it for what it was, just kind of very slapsticky. And for me, that just these days doesn't really do it. I giggled and like, you know, it is very like, I'm like, oh, but it's not like, you know, other movies where I'm like cackling and roaring with laughter.
But all of their old noses had grown back.
What about when Debbie just out of the blue sucks on Thing's finger sensually and then says, "What can I say? I'm good with hands."
Fester's talking about like he's never known love. And then Morticia goes, "But there's Thing." And Thing is on the mantle quaking. And I never noticed that joke. And I'm like, oh, okay. He sexually assaults Thing regularly or makes Thing, work him over. But like that is a joke that this is the first time I got that fucking joke.
I didn't pick up on that. I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah.
That's so
yeah.
No, that's okay. I like it is like goofy sense of humor. I understand why like you're not so much into it. It's definitely, I guess it's my sense. I've never really thought about what my sense of humor is. I found myself cackling at the same moments I cackle at every fucking time I watch this movie. And it's shocking that it's like it hits me in the face every time. I'm like, wow, I've seen this 1,000 times.
The blade is never dull.
I'm still crying because it's so funny.
Yeah.
So,
I was definitely laughing out loud for sure watching this. So I don't know.
More specific nitpicks, which I'm sure is kind of like a whatever throwaway. But for me personally, the inconsistencies in kind of like what is morally acceptable for the Addams and like what isn't. There's just certain moments where it's kind of like just for the sake of the joke, they're going to be okay with that. But then in other scenes, like they're not,
Like what? Like murder? They're always okay with it. Like if you try to murder an Addams, they'll stop you. They'll try to stop you. In no way are they like think less of you for trying to murder someone.
Yeah, they're not going to turn you into the police,
No, they would love you in a way.
Or like, for example, like, okay, like, Wednesday and Pugsley like trying to kill the baby, right? And the parents just like, in some scenes, they're just like, oh, you goofballs. And in other scenes, they're like, children, like, I can't believe you did that,
He'll never die.
So
they know it won't work. I mean, I'm not trying to like disprove you.
No,
I'm just saying that's how I interpret it.
No. And again,
like they know they can't actually kill the baby.
I thought about that more as like, oh, it's a new baby. They're just going through a thing. And then the further it progressed, they were like, maybe it's gone a bit too far and we'd like our third child alive. Like it just seemed to be like
almost like an annoyance thing of just like, hey, Taylor, can you stop doing that? And then just like, Taylor, for the love of God, please stop doing that. Yeah. Like just like after,
Baby actually died. Would they be that mad?
I don't know. Again.
Yeah.
Or like, yes. Okay. Or I'll bring up like this. I don't know if this necessarily ties into my thought here, but, and I think I had this like in a different category later on, but I'll just bring it up now. Fester's bachelor party, right? They have the scene where they bring in the cake. In which traditionally, a stripper would come out, right?
Yeah.
And oops, they baked the cake with her in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lurch.
Right. I mean, I definitely, okay, that's one moment where I fucking died laughing. That was so funny.
Uncle Fester laughs too.
Right. And then it was one of those things where like the more I thought about it, I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, so they just full on, somebody got murdered.
Yeah.
Or, unintentionally, I guess, or, whatever.
Burned alive.
Right. And then they kind of just like laugh it off. And
no,
go,
they definitely laugh.
Lurch, you goofball. But I think that's the only time in the movie where someone is actually like, that person's fucking dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of like, I'm like, I don't know. Like that. I feel like that was almost too far.
No.
Like I was like, because
they
again,
killed
it's not even like,
so many people.
This woman got fucking baked alive.
Yeah,
like, that's
burned alive.
horrible.
Yeah, her flesh melted off her bones.
We're talking about a cartoon. Like it's not a cartoon, but it's a cartoon. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a live action one.
It was a comic.
So it's
well, I know
goof.
that, yeah.
Like, we can't take any of this like too.
Oh, I was just going to say also like on the first Addams Family episode that we did, we also like spent a good chunk of time being like, so what the fuck are they? Like as in like, are they ghosts? Are they like, what are the rules here? Are they dead? Can they die? And we kind of came to the conclusion of like, yeah, like Taylor said, they're kind of just like Bugs Bunny, basically.
Yeah.
I probably brought it up in the first episode, but it's like there was always the distinction between the Addams Family and the Munsters. The Munsters look like monsters, but they are perfectly wonderful, sweet, kind people. You can go to the Munsters' house. They might feed you something weird or something, but you're not going to get hurt and they're going to be very lovely. Mm-hmm. The Addams Family house, you will die or can die. They won't bat an eye. They don't care. They don't care about death because for them, they can go talk to people who are dead. The end of the first movie is like, they're going to play Wake the Dead. And they go like, get up, Uncle Ira. It's Halloween. Like
start,
and they're digging corpses up, and then I mean we don't see it, but we are to assume that they get up, because if you're an Addams, you get up, and even that girl, she might be now buried at the Addams estate, and then now she's part of the Addams family. Like if they made a third one, there could be like some burned, girl, like, and she could be like just at the dance or something like that. Tim Curry.
Never saw it.
Never saw it.
Yeah.
Also, can somebody answer this for me? So is this a family movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, it is way too fucking sexual, which again is something that I did not pick up on as like a small child. And it wasn't until, whatever I
Like
saw.
sucking on things' finger? That's like the craziest part.
No. Fester literally puts his dick inside Debbie and he's like, oh.
Yeah, but you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I do, because I'm a grown man.
Because you're a grown man. When I watched it when I was 4, I thought she just touched him and he liked it.
No, but this isn't like
This isn't
like DreamWorks movies, like slipping in like little like boy, you were happy last night, and like that's it. That's the end of the joke, right? This is like they are in bed. He like whatever, like fucking pre-comes or something, and it's like it's just like no, it is very. She's talking about they're talking about like virginity and like doing it, and like it's just again.
But see, that's the thing.
I'm not a prude.
If you don't know,
I'm sorry.
If you don't know what that is,
I'm calling prude.
Yeah.
I'm calling
it's a little
capital P prude right now, because I watched this movie as a child, and guess what? The innuendos that you're speaking of right now, way over my head, bro. Way over my head. And guess what? I enjoyed it with the whole family. And as I got older, I just appreciated it more and more. Picked up on more things. This is just how life is.
If you don't know what virginity is, that means nothing to you.
This is a great family movie.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's...
for children, like for everybody. 100%.
No, I'm saying as a child, it went over my head, for sure.
Yeah.
I think, because again, I only saw it once.
I mean, the
twice,
sex,
and I don't really
it's
remember.
like Debbie's kind of sexy sometimes, but she's not like
kind of
doing
sexy sometimes. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, like,
This is
I'm trying to look at it from
really
his
sexy
point of view. That's like,
all the
what would
time.
not be acceptable for a kid? And it's like, I don't know. She's like kind of sexy, but like,
sexuality is just a part of life.
yeah. And she's not doing anything
It's
like,
not inappropriate for children.
yeah.
I will say really quick, in defense of Javi, the movie is PG-13. So
It's for 13-year-olds.
technically it's for 13 and up. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's for teens, I guess. So it's not
PG-13.
necessarily supposed to be for kids.
And then the angel came down from heaven and then put the jewel in the Cabbage Patch, and the diamond turned into a baby. And it's like, our parents had sex.
Yeah.
So good.
It's just
Also, just
like-
to backtrack,
it's true. That's what happens.
You're right, Robert.
That fucking Cabbage Patch
Wait,
shit is
what?
bullshit.
thing jumping up and smacking the baby's ass, to,
Yeah.
test its cry. That was,
That doctor that's just
just
standing there waiting for thing.
I will say, on the subject of sexual jokes too, really quick, Fester looking at a centerfold.
Oh,
Yeah. That's the grossest part of the movie. Yeah.
Gomez coming in, and just being like, "Oh, what are you looking at, you old dog?" And then they open it and he's like, "Mom."
Yeah.
Again, the inconsistency with what their actual values are, right? Like, so incest is not like out of, or incestual thoughts is not like out of, well, okay, I won't call it that. Let me backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, they probably don't have too much of a problem with that.
Can we talk about that? Because, by the way, you solved it. In my notes, I wrote the mom bit. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
That's the mom bit.
That's the mom bit. That's the bit. What the fuck is happening with the bit? I love it. I love how ambiguous and fucking weird it is.
It's pretty weird.
What do you think is happening?
It's not ambiguous. Well, again, apparently we're all
think we
adults
fucked our
here. If you flip out, there's a pinup on the cover. It has a fold out. At minimum, it is her in like the skimpiest fucking bikini that the 50s. I don't know, whatever. What allowed.
Yeah, it was probably a one piece.
Right? I don't know.
But
Although girl on the cover looked past the 50s era. It was more like late 70s. But anyways.
But a kid doesn't know what a centerfold is.
We're not talking. I think we're past that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so we're moving on from that
We're
point. That's
moving
fine.
on.
That's fine. I give up.
Oh,
on
okay.
that.
Yeah, no, that's like the weirdest part.
It's a weird part. It is a weird part. And I wrote it down. Thank you for bringing it up because I forgot about it. It wouldn't necessarily be weird because, okay, if their mom was a centerfold model, it's like, hey, look at mom, our beautiful mom, in this magazine. It's what she used to do. But the fact that they're in Fester's bed, and it's like tucked in bed with him.
Oh, it's his jackman
Whoa,
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, Fester, what the fuck, bro?
Okay, hold on. Allow me to sort of not reiterate, but okay, let me clarify on kind of what my thought was about the whole sexual thing. Okay, you're right. I think in this day and age, I think you guys are right. This is facts, right? Sexuality is perfectly normal. 100%. Like, it's great to talk to your kids about this kind of stuff and kind of educate them, whatever, right? Right. This movie came out in '93.
I would
argue.
I
have a feeling that if I'm thinking of my parents, or generally, right, parents in theaters that took their kids to see Family Values, 100% am willing to bet whatever you guys want. Like, I'm betting that parents were like, whoa, in the 90s.
That's today's parents,
not
90s parents.
No.
We're more prudish about what kids see today
Robert,
than in the 90s.
I have to strongly disagree with you,
Dude,
man.
every movie had sexuality.
We are in a sexual revolution right now, Robert. I have to disagree, man.
There were sexy ladies in every movie for no reason.
But not, it wasn't this explicit. Like, it was just, you would look, I don't know, Robert.
I have to disagree.
I have to strongly disagree. 90s parents were not, these were the people parents up in arms about Simpsons and shit. Like, which is like nothing, but they were up in arms about it in the 90s. So I think parents in the 90s watching Values were probably like, whoa, she just fucking sucked thing off. Like,
It's PG-13.
It's PG-13. I will also say that, like, I think no matter what era we live in, you will have people getting upset and offended and trying to boycott a movie or a TV show. Also, I will say in defense of both of you, I'm going to be ringmaster here. I'm going to, put everybody back in their corners. Everybody's right. You guys are correct about the looseness of it, because, like, when I was a kid, people would take their children to go see The Mask and, like, Ace Ventura and things like that, where it's like,
The Mask is really horny.
Really horny, hypersexual innuendo. Every other joke is like, oh, Javi is not wrong either, though, because now it's like, it's at the parents' discretion.
Okay, I'm sorry. A family movie and a kids movie are two different things, in my opinion. This isn't just a kids movie. This is a family movie.
True.
This is, and it is PG-13. If it were PG, it might be like, oh, interesting. They got that through the rating system, And I think as a family, you can choose what to show your kids, and I think this is a phenomenal movie to show kids of almost any age, personally. But that's just my stance.
Moving away from all this.
Do you feel good?
Moving away from this, I just have one last thing.
One last nitpick.
All right. And it's not even a nitpick. It's just, it's a fix, right? I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I personally, right, I would have had the Black Widow reveal later in the film. I mean, that might have changed the tone of the film, but I feel like revealing it on, like, so early that she's, like, not a good person. It's not a bad thing. I just think the film could have had a little extra oomph, could have been a little bit more like oh wow.
You think they could have waited?
Like, if they waited
longer.
Yeah, and then that way it's like a really big, like, hammer drop of like, oh my god, she's fucking horrible. Like,
I agree. I like where you're coming from, but I think you need it earlier on to have a reason for the kids to go to summer camp.
It also mirrors the first script, where that Sully is working with the Addams. He's their lawyer, and he's trying to destroy them basically the whole time. Mm-hmm. Like, I think maybe he gets one scene that you're like, who's this guy? But he's kind of a dick. And then after that, it's revealed this guy's the bad guy.
Yeah. Again, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just, it's just kind of a thought that crossed my mind. I was like, oh.
I think it would have been an interesting, I'd watch that. You know what I mean? I would like to see, like, what, where that goes. I kind of love that we know. Joan Cusack's performance, like, the moment she enters, you're like, something's up with this bitch, And, like, I love that we just get it immediately personally, because it's just like, I think if it were a different performance by a different actor, I would maybe agree a little bit more. But with Joan, it's like, yeah, just, like, let it all out on the table and just, like, let her do everything, Like, does that make sense, what I'm saying?
It's also that camp sort of thing where it's like, oh, this is juicy. Where is this going? Like, oh, she's evil. She's in the house. Like, it's like melodrama, sort of like, oh, she's going to destroy them. How is it going to happen? Rather than, oh, you're like a snake in the grass, sort of like just came out and jumped me. It's like the whole thing is like, how will she destroy them? I think is more the fun of it.
And it's also just like adds to the kind of thing of like, oh, this is why they picked her to be the nanny. It's like, this is why they all vibe so much, is because she's a serial murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a homicidal maniac. No, too young.
Moving on, we've got the Rainy Day double feature. What movie would you guys pair with Addams Family Values?
Other than the first one? I mean...
You can say the first one.
Oh, yeah. That one. That's probably what I said last time.
Let me just piss everybody off again. The better Barry Sonnenfeld movie, Men in Black.
No comment.
I said Problem Child 2 because they're both semi-violent, dark comedies about a femme fatale coming into a family's life and trying to tear them apart. Pretty sure I owned a bootleg VHS that had Addams Family Values and Problem Child 2 on it.
I think it'd pair well with like a Tim Burton movie.
You just came up with a double feature while you were talking. And that's The Parent Trap, the Lindsay Lohan one specifically.
It's fun.
Yeah.
That's a great choice. Yeah.
Thanks.
Steve Gutenberg.
And that brings us to our movie's cocktail, sponsored by Charbay Distillery. Charbay Distillery produces so many amazing spirits, and today we are using Charbay Meyer Lemon Vodka in Hair of the Pup. So we've got 1.5 ounces of Charbay Meyer Lemon Vodka, 1/4 ounce of a vanilla liqueur, 1 ounce of a persimmon syrup, 1/2 ounce of lemon, 1/2 ounce of orange juice, and 1 egg white. Shake all the ingredients with ice and strain, then shake again without ice. Serve in a chilled glass and sip to try and save yourself from a world of smiles and rosy cheeks.
It really is very good.
Persimmon syrup. Jesus
This
Christ.
might actually be your new best.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know what? I think I actually agree
Oh my
with
God.
Javier on this.
You guys are on the same planet.
I'm glad we
once.
can agree on something, Taylor.
Me too.
Well, while we're all in agreement, let's all agree to take an ad break. Ad break! Deciding on what movie to cover next on the podcast takes thought, but deciding on what vodka to drink? That's a no-brainer. Charbay vodka has a pure, smooth, crisp taste that's perfect for cocktails or straight up on its own. Charbay vodka is a product of Charbay Distillery, 21 and up. Please drink responsibly. And we're back with Nostalgia Killers Trivia. Let's see if our guests have what it takes to dig up the answers or leave them buried. Anyways, question number 1. They can't all be winners. Don't you give me that. Look, I didn't do it in a fake patois, so we're fine. All right, question number 1. Why is the film titled Addams Family Values? Is it A, that it shares the name with an anthology book of the original comic strip? B, it's a tongue-in-cheek reference to the recent election campaign? Or C, it's a direct reference to a scrapped plot point in the original draft of the sequel?
B.
Should have waited, Robert.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say A, just because that was gonna be my original answer anyway. So,
But why? You want to lose?
Okay.
Just do B.
B was the campaign.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be true, so that's what I'm picking.
And you are both correct. It is B.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a tongue-in-cheek reference to vice presidential candidate Dan Quayle's very controversial speech about the 1992 LA riots. He claimed that the riots were not necessarily caused by police brutality, but because of a breakdown in family values.
Yeah.
Right.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. The screenwriter, Paul Rudnick, I don't just know this, by the way. He said the movie's name is a response to the Republican Party's constant harping on family values, as if only conservatives could define a loving family. In Republican terms, family values is always code for censorship and exclusion, and Republicans still refuse to respect or even acknowledge, for example, LGBTQ families. I don't know when he said this. I like to believe that the Addams family is far more loving and accepting than their enemies is there. And that's why they're in direct opposition to this camp, which is a bunch of Republicans.
Question number 2. Following the LA riots, director Barry Sonnenfeld was very nervous about studio censorship during the shooting. True or false? Nothing was removed from Sonnenfeld's original cut to keep the film PG-13.
Based on my earlier gripes, I'm gonna say that's true.
I'll say false.
It is true. After the first screening, Sonnenfeld's cut was greenlit. He screamed in the middle of the audience, "They let me drop a baby off a roof."
Yeah.
It was the happiest day of his life.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice. Oh,
They
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
mean, that makes me happy.
Question number 3. Although no scenes were cut, the studio did make Sonnenfeld add one. Which of the following scenes was tacked on due to test audiences' complaints? A. Amanda and her family seeing Pubert at window level on their flight home. B. Wednesday and Joel sharing a goodbye kiss. Or C. Debbie's hand emerging from the grave.
Gotta say
A.
I'm going to say C, because that seems like a very tacked on ending.
It was A. So yeah, test audiences complained about Wednesday and her gang burning Amanda at the stake.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole bit where it's like, we'll always have camp. And it's like, we'll also always have Amanda's retainer.
Implying
Very
she's
much
dead.
implies that she's dead. And
Yeah.
so people were like, I can't believe you burned a child in this movie.
Yeah, that would have been one of my nitpicks if I'd thought about it, because that scene I was like, man, I wish that we didn't see them again. Because then it could have just implied that they all died.
Question number 4. Michael Jackson wrote an original song for the film titled Is It Scary? And shot an entire music video featuring Christina Ricci as Wednesday. The song does not appear in the film nor on the soundtrack. Why is that? Is it A, sexual allegations had been made against Michael just before the film's release? B, Michael disliked the sequel in comparison to the first so much that he personally asked his song to be pulled? Or C, Michael's record label Epic pulled it last minute due to contractual issues with Paramount?
I mean, I want to say A just because of that scene in there.
C.
I'm going to go with C.
It is C. It was all Epic. Michael had nothing to do with it. He was actually really bummed that his song didn't make it into the movie because he's a huge Addams Family fan. This movie came out exactly like 6 months before any allegations came out against him. So
Yeah, it's also 1993, which is the same year Free Willy came out, which on my videotape, which wouldn't have come out in 1993, had an entire music video of Michael Jackson doing that song. Because my dad used to say, every time I watched Free Willy, he'd be like, this guy's a weirdo. And I'd be like, okay, sure.
Question number 5. Michael Jackson wasn't the only one to walk away from the film. Which returning character had to be recast? Was it A, Cousin It, B, Granny, or C, Lurch?
B.
B.
Yeah, Granny.
Yeah. Played by Carol Kane, Carol Kane was actually much younger than Morticia and had to spend 4 hours a day in makeup to be
Yeah.
aged up.
She looks great, man.
She's so good.
You know, I will say, like, can I just throw a really, like, late nitpick in here?
Oh, absolutely.
Not enough Carol Kane in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
you cast her to as the grandma. Give her more. Give her more, man.
She's definitely more memorable than the grandma in the first one.
sure.
No shade to that lady.
No shade,
I mean,
she was great, but yeah.
It's Carol Kane. Like, she's pretty
100%.
horror legend and stuff.
Question number 6, true or false? Baby Pubert was created for the sequel and never appeared in the original Addams Family.
False.
False?
False.
Everyone is correct. It is false. Pubert was a short-lived character from the original 1930s comic strip. His name was deemed too obscene in 1934, and he was slowly phased out.
See, I told you, Robert.
What?
They weren't
in
ready
the
for that in the
30s.
In the 30s, yeah.
Yeah, definitely they weren't. Yeah, that's like pre-code.
Question number 7. Barry Sonnenfeld not only directs this film, he makes a small cameo. Who is he? Is he A, Debbie's chauffeur, B, Morticia's doctor, C, Amanda's dad, or D, Joel's dad? Don't you roll your eyes at me? There was not a lot of trivia
I
for
don't
this.
fucking know.
I don't know what he looks like.
I don't know what he looks like. I would
D,
go with
Joel's dad.
whatever. Yeah, just give the card to Robert.
It's not. It's not. Is it? Oh, okay. It's not. It's not Debbie. It's not the girl's dad because I just remember something else. I was gonna say A just to give a different answer.
Ding, ding, ding. Robert is correct. It is D, Joel's dad.
I just want to say that I didn't need any of these to be multiple choice. I literally could have answered them all.
Okay, cool, humble brag.
Stop doing research before the podcast, Robert.
But that's what I do when I watch any movie.
All right. Well, Robert's going to sweep. Question number 8. Unfortunately, Raul Julia's health was in decline during the filming of Addams Family Values. True or false? This is his last film.
False.
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 That is correct. It is his second to last film. Street Fighter was the last thing he ever shot and unfortunately had to be released posthumously. Question number 9, to lighten the mood a little bit. As perfect as Joan Cusack is in this movie, she was not Sonnenfeld's first choice. Who was initially offered the role of Debbie but turned it down? A. Marissa Tomei, B. Winona Ryder, or C. Cameron Diaz?
C.
Whoa.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with A.
Winona Ryder, like, that makes sense, but I do, for some reason, think Marissa Tomei. I don't think Winona Ryder would have been old enough.
I don't think Winona Ryder makes sense.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. It is A. Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sassy bitch. I love her.
That would have been crazy.
Been great.
And finally, we've got question number 10. Suspicious Connections, Tim Allen edition.
Ew.
What?
Sorry.
Him as Gomez? That's awful. I don't like this. Stop it.
Tim Allen has acted alongside an insanely high percentage of this film's cast.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Of the following actors, who hasn't been in a Tim Allen-led production?
Okay.
A. Joel, B. Debbie, C. Pubert, D. Pugsley, or E. Amanda's dad?
D. Pugsley.
The baby. C.
Actually, I don't really know. But it's a B.
It is D. Pugsley. Joel is David Krumholtz. He is in all 3 Santa Claus movies as Bernard the elf.
Yeah, that guy's great.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Debbie is Joan Cusack, so she's in Toy Story 2 with him. Pubert and Amanda's dad, Kate and Kristen Hooper and Sam McMurray, respectively, huge reoccurring characters on Home Improvement.
The baby?
Oh, no way.
The baby was a reoccurring character on Home Improvement.
Really?
Whoa, he's an acting baby, or was he grown up baby?
It's a lady baby and twins.
Lady babies.
Lady baby
Yeah,
twins.
lady babies, a la
Yeah, they
the
gotta be
Olsen
twins.
twins.
Wow.
Which actually, I don't usually ever catch like goofs in films, but they do refer to the baby as she at one point in the movie.
They also non-gender the baby.
Non-binary.
It's a boy. It's a girl.
It's an Addams.
Yes, but then later they do refer to him as he for
Yeah.
most of the film.
Yeah.
But they didn't say she. They did say
Doesn't
she at one
matter.
point, and I was like, wait a minute.
Robert is the winner of our trivia today. Woo!
9. I got 9. It was Pugsley that defeated me.
Well, Robert sure knows a thing or two.
I told you I'm an Addams.
If you would like to be an Addams, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/nostalgiakillerspodcast. And if you'd like to be shout out every episode like we do with our executive producer, Addie Martinez. That's right, Addie. We love you. You are our Debbie. You know, you take care of all of us and you're probably slowly trying to knock us out, but we don't care. We'll give you a mic anytime you want. And on that note, we'll take our second ad break. Ad break number 2.
Is there anything better than rewatching your favorite movie? How about rewatching it with a cocktail made from Charbay spirits? Since 1983, Charbay has been making award-winning spirits as unique and dependable as your favorite movie. Charbay Distillery, Ukiah, California, 21 and older. Please drink responsibly.
And welcome back to Act 3, the award categories, where we start off the way we do every single time, and that's with my new band name.
Hellish Crusade. They're like a thrash metal band.
I also have a metal band. My band is Infant Possession.
Well, I'm gonna push my glasses up. I have a prog metal band, and they are called Pubert, with their hit song, We're Not Shy, and then in parentheses, We're Contagious. Off of the album No Giggling, No Hand Puppets.
Unholy Maggots. Death metal band. Big Dumb Weird Thing, which would be like they're like a early Soundgarden, like pre, Bad Motorfinger Soundgarden. That early 90s, like super heavy, sludgy sound.
Fester in Forbes, because Fester
Yeah.
does show up on
He's on the cover of
Can we
cover of
unpack
Forbes
that?
magazine.
What is this world? Like
Let's
the
not unpack
greater
that.
world.
And then
He's on
the
Forbes.
album title to Fester and Forbes is Strange Men and Women Who Avoid Them.
I loved that so much.
I album by my band is called Strange Sexual Spell. And their first track on there is Hungry for Cash, Hungry for Love.
Dude, fuck yeah, I would totally listen to that.
Can I give you their next two songs on the album?
Oh, please do.
Yeah. I got Debbie's Love Toy
Yeah.
and Temptress of Waikiki.
I almost had that as a band name.
Very good.
Waikiki.
Very good.
Let's start this band. This is sick.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to Roger Deakins Would Be Proud, an award for cinematography. Mine was the whip tilt to Wednesday and Pugsley just as they drop Pubert off the roof. Like, it's like we're at the bottom and we whip up, and then it's like she's just dangling him over the edge.
Angelica Houston has a clause in her contract requiring, like, if she wants it, a special light for all close-ups.
Thank you for addressing that.
Yeah, they, as a joke in this movie, gave her the glamour lighting across her eyes in fucking every single shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's like a magic spell that her eyes glow.
Yeah.
Okay, that is incredible. Okay, so I knew that was intentional, and like they do it throughout the first film too, and I thought it was just we were like kind of lampooning the first movie. I didn't realize that it's like in her diva like level like contract.
No. Not every shot or anything, because they're doing it in wide shots, right? Yeah. It's in her contract that she reserves the right to demand a special light because she had been lit so improperly for so many years. She like wrote that into her contract. They thought that was hilarious and made that a joke that it's like every shot they possibly could. Wide shots, we're going to fucking have that beam of light shooting across her eyes.
It's perfect.
It's so funny.
Absolutely perfect. I mean, but I call that, I know there's another name for it or something, but I just have always called that Morticia lighting because I think of Morticia in that lighting. You know?
It's like, it's glamour lighting or old school Hollywood. So many old Hollywood movies, they'll just light especially the eyes to accentuate them.
The opening shot of Uncle Fester howling at the moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
So good. That got me really excited when we opened up with that. I was like, oh, this is fucking great. I love this.
Strong start.
Exactly. I had no doubts, and then we see that, and it's like, nah, we're in for a ride. This is going to be amazing.
Also, the whole crime show that shows, like, it's so well done.
Yeah.
It like looks like they literally shot it on videotape. Like, it's just, I don't know, everything about it feels so real of the television of that era. So authentic.
As someone who grew up watching America's Most Wanted directly after The Simpsons and everything, it was like one of those things where it was like, oh my God, this is like, that was like more the most nostalgic thing watching this again was like not necessarily the movie, but I was like, oh, it made me want to go like on YouTube and find old episodes of America's Most Wanted because it was literally like shot for shot. Also, that's how you fucking do exposition.
Yes.
We get her entire character backstory in literally like a minute and a half because it's just like, at our next, it's literally also like, it's an ad break kind of thing. It's like, and but when we come back from commercial, this is what we're going to be talking about. This insane woman, and da-da-da-da. And so they have to like build it up.
With only one thing on her mind. And then he turns towards the camera for the new camera angle. Murder! So fucking good.
Is that Channing Tatum in a dog collar? An actor with an unexpected cameo. There are so many. Who did you guys get?
Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub.
Oh yeah,
What
Macho
are you
Man.
doing? What's that accent?
Macho Man.
Is my big question. What is that accent? What's he doing there?
I don't know what he's doing there.
Well, he's listed as his name is Jorge. So.
Okay.
Yeah, she calls him Jorge. Yeah.
Why that? Why that choice, Tony? Why?
Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
We just talked about the segment, but fucking Peter Graves, the America's Most Wanted announcer.
Is that the actual guy?
Peter Graves? Oh, well, no. That's actually, I don't know, but I do know that's the captain from Airplane.
Oh, okay. I'm sure he's not the actual guy. Then. Yeah. So that guy just knows how to.
Yeah, I immediately was
play
like,
the straight man.
Yeah, it's Captain Over from Airplane.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just had Shalhoub and Nathan Lane.
Oh yeah, David Krumholtz.
Yeah.
Who's he?
Joel.
Bernard. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is like his starting role.
Yeah,
right?
I was like, oh shit.
God,
he's so good.
Such a crush on him as a child.
He's great.
And then as a teenager, I had a crush on him because he was also in Freaks and Geeks as like the college boy. Anyways, and then he showed up on Oppenheimer. Not looking too good, but still have a crush.
He's very funny.
Just had to.
I once got in a drunken debate with somebody because I was completely in the wrong. I thought it was Oscar Isaac for like a little while. I was like, no, baby Oscar Isaac is in Addams Family Values.
They got the same vibe.
They have a
They
very
do have a
got the
similar
same
vibe.
vibe for
vibe.
sure.
I like that. I want to see a buddy movie with them. It's called Same Vibe.
Same vibe.
Oh, with those two, yeah.
Yeah.
Same vibe.
Hey, Suspicious Connection. Oscar Isaac voices Gomez in the animated movie,
Oh.
Fuck yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Fuck yeah.
which is actually very enjoyable.
Yeah. We have the Hans Gruber Death Fall Award. What was your guys' favorite death or near death since they're Addamses and they can't die?
I'll mention it again. The horrific demise of the stripper in the cake.
Yeah. It's the funniest. It's funnier than Debbie's death. For sure.
The cat in the beginning.
Just burying the cat alive.
Yeah, just burying that poor cat alive.
With grandma,
With grandma.
quality family
Yeah.
time.
Great way to open the movie.
Yeah, I just had roasting the counselors like on a spit, just turning them as they're like, yeah.
They should have been screaming a little louder. That's a nitpick. For me, they should have been screaming like they were actually burning.
Didn't they have apples in their mouth?
I think you could scream pretty loud with an apple in your mouth if you're burning alive.
I've got an apple. We can test it.
Yeah.
I'd love to test
And
that
some fire?
specifically on Robert and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's a Patreon exclusive,
Exactly.
everybody.
Lovely.
For a mere $5 a month, you can listen to the agonizing screams of Robert Negoesco.
Burning alive with an apple in my mouth.
Speaking of burning alive, let's keep the podcast alive and moving on to why I like Waterworld, a controversial hot take. I mean, I didn't have that hot of a take. I just said Joan Cusack should have been cast in more femme fatale roles after this movie came out. Because the fact that like I looked at her IMDb and I think she's only played like a villain maybe twice after this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Absolutely insane. She's
Wow.
just chewing the scenery. Like she does. Yeah, this is like what she was meant to do. And then it's just like, no, she's going to be a mom in this and she's going to be a wacky best friend here. And like, no.
She's so good in this movie, and she's so hot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
her so much. Just had to say that.
Oh, no, it's all right. We talked about sexual awakenings on the break. This has got to be in the list. Yeah.
Yes.
This was there because it was
Yes.
like one of those things. Like as I was watching it the other night, I was like having these kind of like I was being taken back. Like I was just like, oh, these are like unlocking core memories. It's like Joan Cusack comes on stage, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, now I'm remembering playing with like Play-Doh and stuff like that in my living room at the time. So I'm like, oh, this is okay. Wheels are turning. We're like, okay, therapy won't get me here, but Joan will.
I mean, yeah. Christina Ricci was my first like non-person I know in real life crush. And it's very weird to watch those movies because it's like these memories, but because she was like this older woman when I started watching it. She was like 3 times older than I am. I'm like 4 years old or something. And now you're a little child.
Mm-hmm.
Very strange.
Okay.
How else am I supposed to think about it?
I don't know.
I think you did that very well. I think you showed a lot of tact there, honestly.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's weird. It's how I feel about maybe in Arrested Development. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's weird. Yeah.
It's fucking weird. Yeah.
It's not weird to have a crush on
No, it's
someone
weird.
your own age as a child. And
It's
then
weird to watch it as an
It's
adult.
weird to look back and be like, yeah.
But why is it weird to watch it back as an adult?
Well, because now I'm like, I put on like, for example, personally, I'll put on an episode of Arrested Development. I'll be like, oh, maybe. And then I'll have like a light flicker of like the, you know, like little heart bubbles and like the sound
Yeah,
from
because
Doug.
you had a crush
Yeah,
when
like,
you were a kid. That's just normal.
And then I'm like, no. I'm like, but then I look at it with like 36-year-old man eyes and I'm like, absolutely not. Put
Okay,
the kibosh here.
so you guys aren't pedophiles. That's lovely.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what we're saying.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Controversial hot take. Robert and I aren't pedophiles.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any hot takes?
No.
Kind of already talked about mine, so I won't mention them again. But I've said what I've needed to say.
You always do. Blue Velvet meets Blue's Clues. What film would you mash this up with to either make a better movie or an absolute train wreck?
I have Addams Family Values meets Ready or Not.
The weird board game company movie? Yeah. Like the family
Yeah.
owns a board game company.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so that's
yeah,
what,
yeah. I totally forgot that they own a board game company. But yes, that one. Yes, I just remember the main. But yeah, yes. An outsider marrying into the Addams family must survive their traditional Addams family hunt. They are fucking terrified and they are like literally fighting for their lives. And the Addamses are like, this
It would be
this is
great.
so great.
That would be
To see an
incredible.
Addams Family movie from a perspective of a non-Addams, because
Yes.
they will be monsters. Yeah, you will die. Yeah.
Yes, yes. You got little Wednesday trying to fucking murder you with an axe, and you're just like, what the fuck is this family? And they're like, oh, Poor Katie doesn't seem to be having as much fun.
Oh
as we
yeah,
are.
you don't.
Like,
If your name's
we gotta-
Katie, you do not stand a fucking chance in this movie. Michelle and Melissa.
No.
I have two. Jumanji, because they would win. They would just win. They would beat the game of Jumanji, right? I don't know. Things would still happen, but I don't know what even the plot is. And then Men in Black. What are the Men in Black gonna do? They're not aliens, but they're paranormal. Right?
Wait, what do you mean?
We're mashing the movie up. What if the Men in Black got to investigate?
In what way? Like, are the Addams family the Men in Black investigating the aliens, or the Men in Black investigating Addams family?
Yeah, the Men in Black are investigating the
You got to
Addams
call that
family.
possible alien family.
But they're not aliens.
They're not aliens.
And then it's like, oh, now the Men in Black have to reckon with like death beyond life exists, or life beyond death exists. That's not in the Alien playbook.
Death beyond life.
Yeah, dude.
Can I just get a T-shirt that says "Death beyond life exists"?
That's my band.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Addams Family Values meets Friday the 13th. So they go to camp, and all the kids and counselors that annoy Wednesday are slowly picked off one by Jason. And then instead of a final showdown, it's revealed that it's cousin Voorhees here to pick up Wednesday and Pugsley.
Yeah.
And, he just got a little carried away.
Yeah, no,
That's amazing.
Yeah, they would blame Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So we don't see Jason the whole movie. Everyone's blaming Wednesday because, like, obvious. But no, it's just Uncle Jason.
Just Uncle Jason, yeah.
Yeah.
Here comes Kanye. Pluggables, do you guys have anything to promote?
Nah.
Well, I do. We've got a lovely podcast for you to listen to here at the Nostalgia Killers. Also, if you go onto our Patreon and subscribe and just, you don't even have to donate, you can just become a member. That gives you access to our store where we have decks of cards. We've got a skateboard deck. We've got stickers. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff coming out. We've eventually got a cocktail book. Patreon.com/nostalgiakillers.
Can I just say, as someone who has many decks of cards, loves playing cards, loves shuffling cards, your deck is particularly enjoyable to shuffle.
You don't even have to play games. You can just ominously shuffle them. If you pick up a deck from, patreon.com/nostalgiakillers podcast. And that brings us to, do we call Jules and Vincent? Good or bad? Do we let this movie live? Do we kill it? What do we do? I let it live.
Yeah, of course.
As the undead, yes, live.
Contrary to what you guys may think, I'm going to let it live.
Okay.
Okay?
I was
Of course you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of like the Addams myself. I'm not a monster. It's just what I think. That's just how I live.
They can't die anyway. It doesn't matter.
You want to watch this movie? Watch it. I'll probably watch it at some point. I'm not going to hate it. I'm going to giggle and I'm going to go, every now and then.
Where does this fall in your Thanksgiving
It's not boring.
film list?
Yeah.
Considering there's only 2 Thanksgiving movies, I guess it's number 2.
Oh.
Or, I don't know.
Where are the other, planes, trains, and
Yeah,
automobiles
that's it.
in this one?
And then
Yes,
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm
So
Thanksgiving.
I've not seen Thanksgiving, but maybe after I watch it, maybe it will be my number 3, unfortunately. Probably.
There's a few.
There's a few.
There's a few horror Thanksgiving movies.
There's Thanksgiving is great.
Oh.
You just got stuffed, bitch. One of the greatest lines ever written.
Wow.
Okay, this is my number 3 then.
Freddy Krueger didn't say that? It's
No.
crazy.
I'm not surprised. I knew you'd let this movie live. I knew it.
Well, that brings us to our Sonic Death Monkey Top 5, brought to you by Goose and Fern English Pub in Santa Rosa, California. And today's top 5 is, what are your top 5 all-time movie sequels that surpass the original?
I have Rush Hour 2, which we referenced a long time ago when we did Rush Hour, but I did mention that I've seen Rush Hour 2 a lot more than Rush Hour and think it's a lot funnier and I like it a lot better.
Cool. Show me the badge. Show me again. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a Rush Hour 1 guy. I don't know.
See, there's a lot that are debatable. Dune Part 2, which is a sequel to a remake of an adaptation of a novel. So I don't know what that's pretty absurd, but it is better than the first movie.
Way better.
Let me just speak for Mr. Villeneuve for a minute. This is not a remake.
Okay.
He said that because Tarantino said that. And Villeneuve said, this is not a remake.
It's an
adaptation.
It's a
of
new
Zenobia."
adaptation.
Yes,
It's a readaptation.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give him that. It's a readaptation.
We're really going to get into semantics here on this one, I think. And I think that makes sense based on the prompt.
Oh,
I'll just go in and say Evil Dead 2.
yeah,
See,
absolutely.
I almost said that because I actually like the first one.
Oh,
That's why I didn't say that one.
hell yeah. We're going to be splitting hairs all day, baby.
Fun.
My number 5, I'm just going to get like some low-hanging fruit out of the way. My number 5 is The Dark Knight. Batman Begins is fine.
Dark Knight's
Dark
better.
Knight, way better.
Yeah.
Controversial hot take. Batman Begins is way fucking better.
Oh.
It is way fucking better.
You guys, we can't do
This is why I fucking love you, Robert.
Yeah.
I love Dark Knight.
It's a Heath Ledger movie.
It's a Heath Ledger movie, yeah. It's not a Batman movie.
My number 4 is sorry, I just had like a brain fart.
I thought you had a real fart the way she moved away from you.
John Wick Chapter 2.
Really?
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because number 1 is great and it sets up the, it unknowingly sets up the universe. But then once you're in number 2, you already know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, let's just get to it. John Wick, let's fucking kick some ass. And,
Yeah, I think I might agree with you on that.
And it's the last one before it gets, in my opinion, starts going downhill.
I agree.
Both The Road Warrior and Mad Max Fury Road, I find them both to be better than the original Mad Max.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Love them both.
Yeah, my number 4, I was debating between giving this to an action franchise or a horror franchise. I gave it to the action. I had to go Too Fast, Too Furious, number 4. I had to stay true to form. It just sets up for like what the franchise is and will ever be. You go from this like mildly serious macho thing about like family, cars, barbecue, respect, to all of a sudden you are just in Miami. And Tyrese is like cracking jokes and like Ludacris shows up. It's a great time. It's like, that's where we start, like where it's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna, this car's gonna do a backflip off a bridge and it's okay. And land on a boat.
Too fast.
Exactly. Also one of the greatest titles for a sequel of all time.
That it is, yes.
All right, I'm just going to go on with this next one, and I have to preface this, and I'm so sorry. In no way is this movie superior to the original, but it is a sequel to a masterpiece that is so different and so enjoyable in its own way, and that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
I knew you were going to do it.
I fucking love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I think it is brilliant. It is one of the best horror comedies of all time, and I will defend that movie until I die.
Insanely different. They are like,
Yes.
yeah, they're not even though. I would
They're not on the same caliber. It's a completely
not even
different
the same universe. Like
No.
it's just, yeah,
It's
so good.
it's so fucking good. I love you, Toby. It's so good.
My number 3, Spider-Man 2. A perfect movie. It's amazing.
Great movie. Has a way better soundtrack. It's got everything going on. Yeah.
It's structured a lot better. Doc Ock is not Willem Dafoe, but I think it's like the Dark Knight, Batman Begins thing, where it's like clearly the better villain. Does that mean it's a better movie? Glass Onion. I love Knives Out. Glass Onion, slightly better. They are both so fucking amazing. I love them so much, but I like Glass Onion more. I just rewatched it. Just rewatched both. I like it more.
Cool.
I have yet to see Glass Onion.
Maybe rewatch Glass Onion.
good.
I like the first one more, but like I've only seen the Glass Onion once, so maybe I'm gonna find more in it the second viewing.
I found Glass Onion a lot funnier, and then the twist is more engaging to me, which is ultimately what pushes it over. They're both like, I think, close to like perfect movies of the modern era. Like very few, I think, have come close for me.
My number 3 is Robert's number 5. It's Dune Part 2. Fucking hate Dune Part 1. It's boring as shit.
Yeah.
It's like nothing but exposition, and like we get like, Timothée Chalamet staring out into the desert for like an hour and a half, and then something finally happens.
No smiles.
No
It took
smiles.
me a week to watch finish
It's
that
bad.
for the first movie.
Really bad. It's also like true to the book, because if you read the book, there's like a chapter of like fun like at one point early on, and then it's just like you're like, how many fucking pages is this? And then you hit like a 200-page mark, and you're like, oh, now all of a sudden things are moving, and like there's something happening every chapter. So Dune Part 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even want to go see it. I was like, I don't care.
Me neither. I saw the first one in the theater.
But it's
I hated it so
good.
much. I put a review online. I got death threats because I didn't like the movie. That was
You put a
fucking
review
nuts.
Online? Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry, Robert.
'Cause I had a
I
reaction?
know that was you. Sorry.
Yeah. I got death threats. The only time I gotten death threats from people I didn't know.
Because you put
It was
a review
over
online.
because I didn't like Dune because I said it was boring as shit. That's my quote.
Well, I stand with you in solidarity.
Yeah,
my friend.
thank you.
Please don't send me death threats. Unless it's on patreon.com.
Yeah,
Nice.
pay
Nice.
to leave your death threats.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. For
Don't
me-
say that though.
No,
You'll get them.
I know.
Terminator 2.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Don't need to
No,
say
so
anything
so
else.
good.
Classic.
This one has always just been the logical thing for me, but I'm sure it's very controversial to 50% of the population. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It's the best fucking movie in the entire franchise.
All of them?
Of all
Of all of them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is.
It is not Empire Strikes Back.
I mean, I think it's the first one, but okay. Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Ooh.
Oh, way better.
Way fucking better. Like that second one is just a great movie, and that first one's like whatever. It's
Anything
fine.
has to be better than that first movie, I'm assuming. I've only seen the first
It's
one.
okay. The first 2/3 of that first one are fine, but Captain America: Winter Soldier, beginning to end, insanely cool action thriller. Just great.
Nice.
Outside of superhero, anything. I think you can watch that movie without watching any of it, any of the Marvel stuff.
My number 2 is the movie that I own more copies of on more streaming sites than I would like to admit. And I don't know how to access any of them because every time I buy it, I'm like, oh my God, you guys haven't seen this? I'm just like absolutely hammered and I spend $20 on this movie. It is The Raid 2.
My man.
One of the greatest sequels of all time. It's just like you get literally
Yes.
like 15 minutes of exposition and then it's just balls to the wall like, all right, this is what you're here for. You're here for some of the most gnarly martial arts you'll see committed to cinema. Like,
Is that the Raid Redemption or is that the first one?
No,
No, Raid Redemption is the first one.
Raid 2
Oh,
is
okay.
It's literally just called The Raid 2.
Oh, okay. That's where I got confused
Yeah.
because it's called The Raid Redemption, where I'm like, why isn't it just called The Raid if it's the first one? Redemption sounds like a sequel. That's all I'm saying.
I'm assuming it's a bad translation because it's like an Indonesian
is, yeah.
film. So
Sure.
it's gotta be,
yeah.
I did struggle with this list, but as I was talking to my sister before leaving our apartment earlier, she did mention to me that National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is technically a sequel.
It is.
And
It
it
is.
is so much better than National Lampoon's Vacation in my
is.
humble opinion. It is like Christmas Vacation is one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. So yeah, I think that fits for
These
the
are our,
prompt.
these are our second ones, or we have one more.
We're on our second ones.
Ooh, yeah, this is my number two. I have one more. Very important one.
My number 1, Chuck already said it. The Raid 2.
Nice.
The best action movie ever made in the history of film.
Yeah.
Period. And I will fight you Indonesian Salat style if you disagree. It's the best fucking action movie ever.
I need to watch
It takes the first one and it's like, oh, you like this? Cool. We're going to do this times a fucking billion.
The goddamn like first scene of him just slowly
Yeah,
unscrewing the fucking broom is like, ah, God, so good.
Yeah. Yeah. They were like, let's fucking do this for 2.5 fucking hours.
Lover
From balls
of
to the wall.
brooms.
Yeah. That end fight scene is the best fight scene like ever. Like it's perfect.
Well, I have two. I'm not sure if you're going to say the one that I'm thinking.
I'm not. I promise you.
Okay. Well, then I'm just going to say them both, but I'll say Friday the 13th, the final chapter, best Friday the 13th movie.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And then I'm cheating with my all-time favorite sequel ever, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
Fucking incredible. One of the best sci-fi movies ever made, just period. You don't ever need to watch the first one. I mean, it's cool, but Star Trek II, infinitely incredible.
Yeah.
Just the best.
I thought about adding that to my list before I left the house. I was like, oh, I got to put Wrath of Khan on there. And then I forgot. Thank you so much.
It's just
Crucial.
so fucking good.
It's the fucking best.
My number 1, I wanted to do something else, but I can't because it's literally on my tattooed into my skin. I have Evil Dead 2. It just is like, the embodiment of, comedy horror and slapstick and all things that I love. So, gotta be Evil Dead 2.
That leaves it to my number 1. And that is Basket Case 2.
I still need to finish it.
Fucking amazing, Chuck. You gotta watch it. So 2 and 3 are both phenomenal. 2 is so, for the first Basket Case is great. But the second one really, really fucking goes there. And I think it's some of Headlander's best work. And that's saying a lot for me because I love everything he does. The effects, the creatures. It's so good.
I don't know what that is.
His little brother is like a mutant in a basket.
And it kills people. And somehow they made more of these and they just get batshit as they go out.
They'd be Addams.
There's 3 of them. 2 and 3 are really very, very special. They're all special. I actually don't know how you would feel about it, Javier. I'm not sure.
You love the substance.
You loved the substance. That's good.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I thought a lot about Headlander watching the substance, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Let's hope that gets a sequel. That's even better than the first one.
I don't know, Randy Quaid splitting? That'd be kind of fun.
Oh yeah, he becomes his son?
And on that note, if you're still listening, thank you for listening. I have been Chuck Starzenski.
I have been Javier Martinez.
Robert Negoesco.
Well, I've been Taylor Diffenderfer.
Do you have something else you want to add, Taylor?
Yes. I'm sorry, but I just have to talk about like one of my favorite moments in this whole movie, and I haven't done that yet.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
A quick moment.
But a mere
coda.
aside.
I literally
coda.
did this in the last one I was in. At the end of the movie, and as we're at the end of the podcast, Pugsley asks Fester, like, do you miss Debbie? And Fester says, well, sometimes late at night, I remember how she used to turn to me and say, Jesus, Fester, get out of your room.
Go back to your room.
Go back to your room. And it's the way he delivers that line kills me every fucking time I see this movie, and I always rewind it and watch it multiple times, and I cry with laughter. It is perfect. I love you, Christopher Lloyd.
And with that, we have been the Nostalgia Killers.
Bang,
Bang,
bang.
bang.